You're on the Metal Bar, and we are very pleased to welcome to the show Matthias Jabs from the Scorpions. Hello, Matthias. How are you?
Great. How are you, Ricardo?
Yeah, great, thank you. And even better for the news that you were coming back to see us so soon. It wasn't long ago you were here with Def Leppard.
That's right. The tour started out great, but then, unfortunately, we couldn't play the shows in Melbourne and Sydney, and obviously we want to do that next time we are coming around again, and that will be in February. And I'm really looking forward. Beautiful country, and still new to the Scorpions, even though we celebrated our 50th anniversary a couple of years ago. So it's time to come back and play some great shows with Whitesnake this time.
Yeah, bringing Whitesnake with you. I mean, how well do you know those guys? How much have you toured with David Coverdale, etc. before?
Oh, yeah, many, many times. We played the U.S. in, that's about like 15 years ago or something, extensively for many months in the U.S. and in Europe. And and we just met each other in Brazil and Colombia, because before we did this little trip here through the Eastern European countries and Russia, we spent a month in South America playing the Rock in Rio festival, which was excellent. And then, we keep running into each other, and, we go out for dinner together, and we have a great feeling, and it should be all wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, you guys know each other very well by the sounds of things. We're looking forward to having you both down here in New Zealand, having you again. You mentioned that it was a few years ago now, I think it was in 2015, that you celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Scorpions. We've just seen Motley Crue, who have retired, and they signed a contract in blood and said, we're never touring again, come back. Do you think bands give it away too easy, too early these days?
I think so. We said that almost 10 years ago, that it's time to, call it the day, but we realized on the so-called final tour that we are just having too much fun, and the fans and the promoters and everybody in the business doesn't want to let us go. They say, okay, you have to come back, and the shows are going great, and it's all like packed, and so why should we stop? And I think that bands like Kiss or Motley Crue, who said it about 10 times, that they're going to retire, they just realize later, much later, when they're sitting at home doing nothing, that they had a much better time going out on the road and playing to people. And so we realized that too. We only announced one farewell tour so far, and learned our lesson. We will not do that again.
Yeah, exactly. I have to laugh at Ozzy Osbourne's latest tour being called No More Tours 2.
Yes.
Because No More Tours 1 wasn't enough, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the first final farewell tour, somebody said that too.
Yes.
I think Phil Collins or somebody. Yeah, but it's our life. You realize that. That's it's not a job. It is what we do, what we are breathing every day, and without it, I mean, unless you're sick or something. But what's the reason to not go out? It's, from my opinion, the best profession in the world. You get to travel the world, you do what you do, and you play to a lot of people, and you even get paid for it. So it's wonderful.
There's some talk about a new Scorpions record, and that you have been writing a new Scorpions record. Can you tell us how far down the track you are there?
Yes, we've been writing some material before we went on tour this summer. It's always difficult to come up with stuff on tour. You get the inspiration, but to actually put it down, that's a different story when you travel every day. And so we have songs, about 10, I guess, but we will have to do some more writing once this tour is over, and then prepare for the rehearsals and recordings right after our shows in New Zealand and a couple in Asia. And then so we will be back early March. And then we know that we work with a producer, Greg Fiedelman, who is known for doing Metallica and Slipknot and others, and he's a great guy. And he came to visit in our studio in Hanover, Germany already. So the plan is to record until 1st of July, where we have a residency in Las Vegas for a whole month. And then, during that time, we can either do the final touch-ups or mix and then the album should come out like in the fall of 2020. And then, of course, we go on the road again.
Yeah, you got to go on tour that. From your point of view as a writer, guitar player, you've been writing for so long now. Where do you get your inspiration from and your new ideas from? How does that work for you as an artist?
But works slightly differently than in the early days. In the early days, I took the guitar and came up with some great riffs and was excited about that. And we took it from there. Today, almost every riff has been played already. So by myself and by others, what else do you want to do? So the approach is slightly different. It's more about like the song and the melody and even the lyrics. Sometimes they could be the inspiration, and you do the riff and all the the guitar work. You do that later on. Not always, but it's not the main source for songwriting anymore, as it used to be in the beginning. When we were so excited. Oh, listen to this new riff! It's great. Let's turn it into a song. It's a little bit the other way around now.
Yeah, okay. It's a different mindset of how to write. What about yourself personally? I mean, when you came into the Scorpions, going back to the late 70s, you brought something new with you in terms of, a guitar sound that maybe the Scorpions didn't have before. It was very reminiscent of what Eddie Van Halen was doing. So what about guitar players now? Is there anybody that you listen to now over the last couple of years that has impressed you and that you look to and think, wow, this guy's doing something different?
I mean, there's so many great guitar players in the world. Many of the rock bands and other bands have just fantastic players. I think once, in the early stages, I've been listening to all those great guitar players from the 60s, like Jeff Beck, Jimi Hendrix. Somehow I'm stuck with them, so I still like to listen to them the most because everything else is, it's something that is less original. These guys, or Jimmy Page, they created a style and a sound, and we all learned from them. And so, Eddie Van Halen was an exception, but there's so many great guitar players. I mean, everybody who ever played in the Scorpions is a great guitar player. And, there's so many others. Whitesnake has two great players. And so, they're all good, meanwhile.
Yeah. There are a lot of extremely good guitar players on the planet, that is for sure. What about outside of the Scorpions for you, Matthias? I know you've got your guitar shop. How busy does that keep you, and what else do you do when you're not on the road? Yeah,
the guitar shop. I have a great team now. I can see things online. When I have the time, I call almost every day, and I can have trusted people there. So it doesn't occupy me too much. The only thing I don't like about it is the paperwork, but to deal with guitars is always great fun. That goes well. We'll visit it in early December once the tour is over and I'm back home. Yeah, but what else do I do? I'm glad that I can see my friends who live in the area or near Hamburg or Munich, within Germany. Sometimes I jump over to England and meet a couple of friends there. That takes up time. Then being in the Scorpions is always busy. All the things the fans don't see, which we have to do as being a worldwide company. Unfortunately, you have to have meetings and all that stuff. So that is very, very time-consuming also. And usually, before you know it, you prepare for the next run of the tour. And so I have to play guitar all the time, a little bit at least, to keep in good shape, and which I like to do, thank God. And so it's busy. It's not that much else what you can do. I don't really have a hobby like sailing or skiing or whatever. I literally don't have the time to do it.
It's full-time rock and roll.
Yes, I mean, I love to drive cars, but in Germany we are lucky. We are still the only country without a speed limit, so it's fun to drive a couple of fast cars once in a while.
Yeah. In terms of your collection of cars, what's your favorite car at the moment? What do you like to hit the Autobahn in?
I have a couple of Porsches. I have them for quite a long time, but my latest one is just bought it this year. in April is an Aston Martin DB11 convertible. That's a great car.
Yeah, that's superb, superb. Now,
and it's bright yellow too.
So we know we can see you coming.
Yes, safer.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. The Scorpions obviously a band with a lot of history, and one of the biggest parts of that history, I think, is the song, Wind of Change, because it resonates with people on so many levels, no matter where in the world you are. But of course, for me, it always ties back to the Berlin Wall and that coming down. And we had the anniversary of that not so long ago. And a friend of mine, I don't know if you know Winton Rufo, who was a footballer who played in for Werder Bremen for years in the 80s and 90s. He was there when it came down, and he remembers it, and he remembers the Scorpions from that song. Not that he's a rock fan, but that was the song, and he associates that with the Berlin Wall coming down. So, in terms of your place in history, when you think about things like that, how much does that mean to you?
Obviously, it means a lot to us. It is about 30 years ago now. So, what mattered a lot back then, it doesn't matter in the same way today, of course. But it's great that we had the opportunity to write something, what they call the soundtrack to that peaceful revolution, which actually freed 17 million East Germans and finally brought down the Soviet Union. So that's a major part of our history, and it's good to be connected to that. Of course, it's not the music that changed anything, but the music now, somehow will always be connected to that event.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. Matthias, it's been lovely talking to you. I'm really looking forward to seeing you next year with Whitesnake and hearing what you produce with the new Scorpions album. So thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your tour.
Yes, thank you so much. It was great talking to you.